What's up, wall fans, common sensors, and of course, podcast consumers? Welcome to the video feed for yet another very exciting edition of Common Sense Sundays with Go Tell It to the Wall, hosted by me, your absolute favorite podcast host, the one and only Sean O'Rourke. It is, and this is episode 110. It's hot as hell here in Southern California and really around the entire world. So all that being said, I'm not going to get into too much here. Let's just get right into the episode before I melt inside of the Go Tell It to the Wall studio.
1, 2, 3, go tell it to the wall. Tell it to the wall. Go tell it to the wall. Tell it to the wall.
All right, wall fans, common sensors, podcast consumers, welcome to another very exciting edition of Common Sense Sundays with Go Tell It to the Wall, hosted by me, your absolute favorite podcast host, the one and only Sean O'Rourke, and this is episode 110. That's right, 110. We are all experiencing quite the heat wave right now, really all over the world. I feel really terrible we've got it bad, but not nearly as bad as even some other areas of Southern California, not far from where I live, but I've been pretty much melting for the past week. And I'm sure no matter where you're listening from, you can probably relate, because I know even across Europe and the UK and everywhere's just getting heat waves right now. So make sure you're staying cool and staying hydrated. Before we get into all kinds of other stuff, for example, why we missed last Sunday, we're going to kick things off with our social plugs. You can keep up with us during episodes, after episodes, before episodes, whenever you so please, and you can do that at multiple locations. One of those would be facebook.com/GoTellItToTheWall. That's right, facebook.com/GoTellItToTheWall. We also have our official YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/GoTellItToTheWall, or at GoTellItToTheWall. You can type that into YouTube, and our channel will come up with all our great video content on there. And of course, there is also my own personal Instagram account, which is at SoCalSean, SoCalSean, at SoCalSean. As always, that is not all Common Sense Sunday or Go Tell It to the Wall content, but if you enjoy our show reviews, our album reviews, all kinds of that stuff, then you will most likely enjoy following my personal Instagram account, again, at SoCalSean. And of course, we have the official website, which is your one-stop shop for anything and everything that has to do with Go Tell It to the Wall, and that would be SeanO'RourkeLive.com. That's right, SeanO'RourkeLive.com. Make sure you bookmark that one. They've even got links to those social platforms I just mentioned, as well as links to our Patreon, if you want to help us out financially. Always looking to get new patrons on there. And of course, if you don't want to get involved with that, but you still want to support us financially, you can pick up some merch through our merch website linked directly from SeanO'RourkeLive.com. All right, as I said, we're in a heat wave here, and I know we missed an episode last weekend. I am often a proponent of Mental Health Day, and I'm not going to say it was like a full-blown Mental Health Day, but full disclosure to all of you, I chose to do some day drinking instead. So it was a friend's birthday at a brewery here called Paperback, which I'd never been to, and I decided to participate in that instead of coming home and recording an episode. I thought about going there and then coming back and recording, but it turned into an entire day excursion hanging out at Paperback. Highly recommended if you haven't been there. They are in Atwater, right around near, I don't know if it's officially Atwater Village, but right near Atwater Village, either in or near. And they had a great burger truck out front, some smash burgers, and I think it was a fairly decent-sized group, and everyone that I was talking to about the beers, there was no complaints about really any of the beers. In fact, one of my friends that's not much of an IPA drinker found a couple IPAs that he really liked, and just all of them well-balanced beers. So check out Paperback Brewing if you're in the Southern California area. Flights, decent prices, and like I said, that tasty cheeseburger truck right out front. And they had some crazy loaded fries, too, so I wish I could remember the name of it, but it's like... I'm not going to remember it. Something like bun and something, I don't know. But it was very tasty. I'm sure if you look at the Paperback website, I think they're there a lot, like on the weekends. All right, now that we're done with that opening, let's get into some digital trends. This one's actually partially could be in the opening. If you're a Twitter user, or even if you're an Instagram user, or just any kind of social media user, you've probably heard about the new platform Threads, which is from Meta. If you're not familiar with Meta, that would be Facebook's parent company. They basically took similar coding to what Twitter had and made a Twitter version of Instagram. And I've talked about this like blue sky and stuff over the past few weeks as we watch Twitter die a slow and painful death. But this Threads thing, there's a couple things on this. It's obviously trending. And Twitter has threatened a lawsuit because we're stealing their... And I'm not sure all the technical sides of all this stuff, but I did see something that Elon Musk made it open source. So it's like, why are they stealing our concept? Well, you just gave it away. And like, okay, good job, Elon. But the interesting thing is, once it launched, I started seeing it like crazy everywhere. People were posting on Twitter and other platforms and all this other junk. And apparently, like 24 hours after it launched, it had over 50 million downloads. So we might be looking at the winner of, you had the Blue Sky, and Mastodon is another one I know is out there. But Threads really caught fire. And I think part of the reason for that is for somebody like me who just wants the ease of it, I already had a username. So if you do want to follow me on Threads, it's SoCalSean, at SoCalSean, or however they're doing it on Threads, but it's SoCalSean. And not only that, but it really just imported all of my followers and everyone that I was following from Instagram. So all that just populated automatically. I didn't have to go searching down people that I knew that I'd followed on, other platforms, whatever. It was all right there. And then as people joined, it would like auto, it's got those connected. So I see that as an advantage. Now, some people might complain, oh, you're just, to me, huge advantage. I got a few too many notifications for a couple days there, but that slowed down after a while, and now it's just kind of trickling in as other people join Threads. And I'm sure it's well past that original 50 million, because I've been getting notifications for about a week now. I joined like first week of July, I think. I was a day or two after the launch. So check that one out. You can follow me on there. I haven't been using it too much, but I that may change in the future. And I know lots of other people have used it. The few times I've gone and scrolled through it, I see a lot of my friends and also people that I've followed on Twitter and on other things. Whether it's bands, comedians, stuff like that. So made things very easy for me. So I think that's why people like it and why they're getting so many downloads with the launch there. All right. Hashtag Shark Awareness Day. That was this past Friday. And this is probably tied because I don't know if it's Shark Week. I know a lot of people like to celebrate Shark Week. I definitely got out of it when I was doing my triathlon racing, as I point to my shadow box back here with some gear from my first race. It was a little too close to race time. And, when you're swimming in the ocean, I don't need to be watching a bunch of shark stuff, a month before I'm getting in the ocean. So, but I'm sure this is tied to that. But the cool thing about it is, I will say, it's meant to dispel false facts about sharks. They get a bad rap, understandably at times, because that's scary as hell. If you've ever come across a shark in the ocean, I've never actually seen one, but I've been told that I've been near one as I've been out swimming with others and bodyboarding, surfing back in my younger days when I had time to do stuff like that. So I think this is a good thing, and if you're interested in learning a little bit more about sharks and how they are important to the ecosystem of the oceans and how they've kind of gotten a bad rap, Jaws is a fantastic movie, but sharks get portrayed in a certain way, and that is what this is doing, is bringing up awareness for the fact that sharks are very important to not only to the oceans but really to the entire environment, and I think that is something that's important for people to keep in mind. Again, that was this past Friday, but you can still search the hashtag. And if it is actually Shark Week, happy Shark Week to those of you that celebrate. I know a lot of people are very, very obsessed with Shark Week. I just don't fall into it because it freaks me the hell out. Much respect to sharks, though. Much respect. All right, a couple fun ones here. Hashtag signs I won the lottery. This is like kind of a sign of a take on a classic meme that I see a lot, and it's worded a little differently, and I'm sure many of you, if you've been on social media, you've seen it, and it's like, no one would know I won the lottery, but there will be signs, and it's always like a funny picture of somebody, I don't know, swimming in hamburgers or something like that. Or I've seen more racy ones, I guess you could say, that involve certain drugs that get associated with certain movies like Scarface. Either way, people have fun with it, and I think people were having fun with this one. So if you want to search that, it's kind of a take on that classic meme. And I had a thought, and this is to have fun with. I know, if I won the lottery, I would hope that I would spend some of that money helping people. But from a fun side, I'm always like, I don't know what it would be. And then as I was putting together the show today, I said, you know what it would be is my Vans collection would double in size, and I would probably build an additional closet somewhere in my house simply to stock my ridiculous collection of Vans, which is ridiculous as it is. But if I had that much extra, money laying around, I might actually just go a little crazier on buying my Vans here. So that's where I'm curious. If anyone out there listening, comment something fun. I get it. Don't say I'd end world hunger. Yes, I know. I would hope that a lot of people would do those things too, but let's have some fun with it. And what's kind of either your vice or your collection or what you're really into, like, if you love cats and you suddenly have a cat ranch or whatever it might be. So hit us up. Let us know that. Maybe we'll share some next episode. All right, hashtag National Ice Cream Day. It is today, Sunday, July 16th. I believe this was trending in the U.S., so apologies to other people. We have a ton of UK listeners and some European listeners. I don't know if that means you're not allowed to participate in National Ice Cream Day, or maybe it's National Ice Cream Day. I always question this when it's national versus international. You have international, funny things like this. Nonetheless, enjoy some ice cream. My favorite is a banana split by far. That's just kind of right in my wheelhouse, and I like hot fudge. And I do not eat chocolate ice cream, which is funny. People always look at me strange. I like vanilla ice cream. I like vanilla ice cream with some hot fudge on it. I don't like chocolate ice cream. Give me some of that vanilla ice cream with some toppings. Or Bananas Foster, if you've ever had Bananas Foster. I love when the ice cream gets kind of melty. And vanilla ice cream just lends itself to certain other flavors like a hot fudge or, Bananas Foster. And I do prefer soft serve. I don't know about any of you out there. And this is actually not a point of contention in my house. My wife is a hard scoop ice cream. That's what she prefers. I prefer the soft serve. Now, I don't eat a lot of ice cream anymore. I save my calories for other things. I try to avoid the sweets because I end up drinking beer instead. But I grew up on the soft serve like Dairy Queen. And the funny thing is my wife grew up on the hard scoop stuff like Baskin Robbins. So I think it's kind of just that difference in what you grew up with. So I'm a soft serve and a melty ice cream guy. That's what I prefer. And I did not tell my daughter it's National Ice Cream Day. I probably have that note in parenting. So apologies if I I know I did. It's in there. I'll probably end up mentioning it again because I go off my notes, my useless notes. I don't even know why I have these. It's funny. I've got a stack of these notebooks. Now that we're getting tangented, stack of these notebooks in the closet behind me because we've done, oh my gosh, 250-something episodes. And so these notebooks fill up quickly. And I've got a fresh new one here that I just started for this episode. All right, a couple more digital trends. The Barbie film. Good Lord, we get it. It's a fucking movie about Barbie. I don't know why my entire social feed is full of Barbie stuff. Cool, they put a stupid Malibu Barbie beach house in Malibu, whatever they're doing. It's like you would think this is the biggest film ever created, and I don't understand the hype behind it. It's fine. If you want to go see the damn movie, go see the damn movie. I don't want to see it. It is pretty funny, though. Apparently a couple of, I'm just going to call them weird dudes, weird males, if you want to call them that. They probably have, like, alpha male in their bio. Decided to start coming after Margot Robbie, apologies, it's one of those two, and saying, and I don't even understand this term fully. The thing is, it made my head hurt to even think about it, but apparently mid is a thing we call people now, and I guess it's an insult. But the gist of what I understood was guys were calling her out for being mid, which apparently is an insult. And of course, then people pull their profile pictures and say, really, you're going to hurl accusations when you look like this? And it's like, yeah, it's kind of understandable. You should give them a hard time for this. So, of course, that's trending as well. But I just cannot wait for the damn thing to come out. I think it comes out next weekend. Please just let this thing come out and we can stop seeing so much on socials. It's going to be out of hand. I will say respect, because the other one is Oppenheimer. That's been all over the place. And it's like Barbie versus Oppenheimer. These are two completely different fucking movies. Let's calm that down. But respect to the Oppenheimer cast. Now, just get tangented for a second. We're going to talk more about it when we get to Common Sense. They actually walked off of their UK movie premiere as soon as the SAG strike started. For those of you not familiar, we're going to get into that, all that stuff when we get to Common Sense. All right, one more thing here. Strange things thrown on stages. This has been all over the socials lately, and I've thought it was strange for a couple of years because there's the guy with the Post Malone. Apparently people throw like sneakers on stage, and trust me, I've seen my fair share of sneakers thrown on stage. I just saw it Friday, actually. But that was after somebody was trying to find the owner of it and then kind of chucked it. This is people throwing, and I don't know if they're trying to get it signed or whatever. They throw cell phones, all kinds of crazy stuff. Well, it's really came to a head like a few weeks ago. Somebody was at a Pink concert and decided to throw a Ziploc bag of ashes on the stage. We then find out, because Pink asked, said, "What are these?" They were apparently the person's mother's ashes, and they chose to throw them on stage in a plastic bag. Stop throwing strange things on stage, first of all. I don't know why we're throwing cell phones or any of that stuff. There's classic things, yes. We've all seen stuff, we either lived through it or seen it. I still see it now and then. The last time I saw Less Than Jake, somebody threw a bra. To be fair, I think it was a guy throwing a bra, so it was more of a funny thing. Yes, there are those classic things, but let's calm down with this stuff. And the other thing that got me thinking about it, it's like, what were you trying to accomplish by throwing your mother's ashes in a plastic bag onto a stage? Genuine question. I kind of I'm all for we're gonna spread ashes. Like, you go to the beach, we're gonna spread ashes. You go somewhere, you're gonna spread ashes. And in fact, I've heard of ashes being spread at sporting venues. I guess USC. This happens now and then at USC. For just as one example, I'm sure many others. I mean, think about the fanhood behind like Notre Dame and Alabama and Penn State, all these blue blood schools. But then it kind of becomes part of it, and of course they're not going to stay there forever. But a stage for performing, it's something that gets put up for the concert and then taken down. So the ashes are really just going to end up in the trash at that point. Let's be smarter about where you're trying to spread those ashes, and just keep them out of a place. Get an urn or bury that, whatever it is. My mother-in-law was cremated, but her ashes were buried at the family plot. So it's, and if you want to spread them, go to like the beach, some nature thing that somebody enjoyed. Don't throw them at a musician that you're seeing in concert. All right, let's move on to some mental health here. Just a couple quick things we're going to get into this week. First of all, last week, I believe it was last week, and apologies, no disrespect is meant, was non-binary people's day. Binary people don't need a day. Non-binary people's day. And I saw this one trending, of course, which understandably should raise awareness for it. But the thing that caught me off guard, but then not off guard, it wasn't that surprised as, was kind of the blowback. And that's why I want to talk about it from a mental health standpoint. I saw so many people posting things along the lines of, we just had an entire month for this. Why do they need a day? Or this is just a bunch of, and I kid you not, so many people, it's a bunch of narcissists. Why are we celebrating narcissism? It's like, are you kidding me? Are you actually kidding me right now? Here's the thing. You don't have to agree with it. Anyone who's ever listened to this podcast, you know where I stand when it comes to equal rights for non-binary people, LGBTQ, people of color. Obviously, we are very much in support of that. Everyone at Go Tell It to the Wall are proponents of equal rights and of awareness to those to people that have been marginalized. But you don't have to participate. This is something we talk about all the time. And really, all that these assholes are accomplishing is putting down other people. And that's why I want to talk about it from a mental health standpoint, especially the narcissistic thing. There's no reason to try and twist things around for marginalized people. If you don't like it, you don't have to celebrate it. That's what's amazing to me. Nobody's forcing anything down their throats. You don't have to go to pride events. You don't have to do these things. All you're doing is insulting people that have most likely been marginalized their entire lives, depending on their age and depending where they live. So we got to stop that. And if you see it, call it out. Because that's what it is. Being non-binary is not narcissistic. And if you're running around saying being non-binary is narcissistic, you need to look in the mirror and think about who the real narcissist is in that situation. Take a good hard look at yourself. Here's the thing. I know nobody continues listening to this podcast that are the type of people who are like, oh, narcissistic, and we just had a month and all this stomping, and like, Jesus Christ, calm it down. We need to have respect for everybody. Just because someone's different doesn't mean they're narcissistic. You can never celebrate marginalized people too much. You can't. And you don't have to participate in it. You don't have to go to pride events. You don't have to buy rainbow stuff at Target. All you're accomplishing is putting down other people. And that's why for the longest time, there was such a high suicide rate among the LGBTQ community. And I'm not an expert. I don't have numbers in front of me. I assume that has slightly improved, but even that I don't know. But it is something back in the 90s. Oh, my God, you heard about it just so much. Young people, because they were criticized and made fun of and abused at times. That has to stop. Just respect one another. You don't have to get involved with it. Honestly, you should agree, but you don't even have to agree. Just leave other people alone. It has nothing to do with you. And that kind of brings me to my next point that I want to talk about, is when depression creeps in. Because I've always said I will be open on this podcast, and I talk about my own experiences, despite not being a doctor, not being an expert by any means. It's really based on my own experiences and talking with people that have dealt with mental health issues and mental illness. And something that's been at the forefront for me recently is depression. I suffer from obsessive compulsive disorder. I also suffer from anxiety obsessive disorder. Yeah, AOD. I always forget the term on that one. That was a new one that came to me later on in my diagnoses. And a lot of times that can lead to depression. Here's the thing, and this is why I want to bring this up, really for everybody. Because if you're someone that deals with depression, sometimes you need that reminder. There doesn't have to be a reason for your depression to creep in, to come to the forefront. Sometimes there isn't a reason. And I think, and I've been guilty of the same thing myself. And that's what has happened to me lately, more recently. I won't say I've gotten to a better place here, but a couple weeks ago I was in quite the depressed state. And oftentimes what people do with mental illness is try to pinpoint what is causing that depression. Sometimes there is nothing. And so this is a reminder to all of you out there that might deal with depression that there doesn't need to be a reason. You practice some self-care. You don't necessarily need to get to the root of it. You just need to come out on the other side of it. And I can't tell anyone exactly how to do that because everybody's completely different. And if you're somebody who's never dealt with mental illness or depression or anything like that, know that if somebody you know is in a depressive episode, most likely has nothing to do with you. And then if there isn't anything to pinpoint, don't try to force anyone into a reasoning behind why they're going through a depressive episode. Don't focus on the reason. Take care of yourselves. Don't focus on the reason. Take care of your friends and family. That's all you can do is just be there. Just be a shoulder. Be a sounding board, whatever it might be. It manifests in all different ways. It's just a matter of knowing yourself that you're going to come out on the other side of it, not beating yourself up about it, not trying to find a reason. Sometimes there is a reason, obviously, but sometimes there isn't. Sometimes it just creeps in and you wake up one morning and at least for me, I know it's just going to be one of those days and I don't have a reason most of the time. And that's a very, very, very important thing to remember. And I will tell you one of the things, and we're going to get into some show recaps because we've had a few shows since the last episode on the 4th of July there. One of those things, this is a funny story that I really wanted to include in mental health, and it was last weekend. So I was at a show at Garden Amp, and I'm talking to some guys I just met. You know, we're hanging out, making jokes, and a topic that comes up, and we're joking about, and we're all older, like older guys, no kids, even teenagers, like it was on all ages show, but we're joking about, our past drug use, and then we're kind of, and then this always comes up too. It's like, you got to, and we started talking about fentanyl. It's like, you got to be careful with that. And then oddly, and then one guy's talking about smoking weed and all this other stuff, and like, and then sure enough, my alarm goes off at 7:00 every day. I take my mental health medication, essentially. And what I do, and this is me being completely open with everybody, is I do take Zoloft. I take a very low dosage comparatively to many others out there of Zoloft, and which is an SSRI. We've talked about this before, and with this heat wave, good Lord, it just hits me extra hard. I'm sweating like crazy. But my alarm goes off, and I just reach into my pocket. I have a little pill case, and I just put one pill in it when if I'm going out and I know I'm going to be gone at 7:00. So I pull it out and I take it, and one of the guys standing next to me, he sees it, and I'm not like hiding it, but I'm not like, hey, look. And he goes, oh, what do you take? What do you take? Like jokingly, because we had just been talking about, drugs, and he's probably a little, and jokingly he's like, oh, you got a little ecstasy, whatever it might have been, and I was like, oh no, it's just my meds, and he's like, what is it? I was like, Zoloft. He's like, oh my God, Zoloft, I take Zoloft too. And this one guy goes, man, and I can't even remember his name. He goes, man, I used to be such an angry person, and now I take Zoloft every morning. And he's like, I take mine at 7 a.m. I was like, I take mine at 7 p.m. And another guy in the group like kind of heard this. He's like, you taking Zoloft? I take Zoloft. And it was just so funny how, because I can't even think, and even me, when I have been put on different medications over the years, my journey of 20 plus years dealing with mental illness, and 20 years ago, even 10, 15 years ago, it's not something you want to talk about. But it was so nice to see other people that were like, yes, that is fantastic. Yes, we're going to laugh and joke, ha, 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 and I have friends that know this, like that don't take it, and they'll hear my alarm go off. They'll be like, it's 7 o'clock. I'm like, yep, got time to do this. And I thought that was just such an uplifting, fun thing to realize that we're at a punk show, and these big older guys that are just like, oh yeah, no, it's been great for me. And it's so nice to see that openness. And I definitely just wanted to share that story with all of you, because we all just laughed. It was like, oh my gosh. And not laughed in a making fun of anybody kind of way. It was just like, oh my gosh, that's so funny. Well, I also do that. It is great. It helps. And it was just nice to see that openness, especially among people you wouldn't expect it. We're just at a random punk show in Orange County. And just because somebody had seen me take mine, it turned into it furthered the conversation into other people taking similar medications. And it was one of those good moments. I had started coming out of my depressive state at that point, and that really, really helped me to kind of break all the rest of the way through it. All right. Let's move along to some positive news here. So, we're getting word over the past couple days that Ron DeSanctimonious down there in Florida, who is obviously running a bid for the presidential nominee for the GOP. Yeah, you know me. I'm sorry. That was horrible. I just felt the rhyme coming, but that was horrible. Just don't hold that against me, especially if this is the first episode you're ever listening to. But we're getting word that his campaign is essentially dying. He's had to cut his campaign staff by something like half. Don't quote me on that exact number, but he's fired a bunch of people from his campaign because he can't afford it, and apparently running out of money. And he didn't raise much to begin with, and it's funny. And I will just say, you reap what you sow. You thought you could cause all these controversies and then walk yourself into the White House, and clearly it didn't work out for the man. And then on top of that, I'm also seeing word that, from the beginning, I'm not a huge Joe Biden fan, but he's much better than anything that the right has put out, like 1,000 times better. And apparently he has raised more than all of the Republican candidates combined through fundraising. So obviously he has quite the support, and we're seeing the difference between somebody causing controversy and marginalizing groups of people versus somebody who's trying to help really every citizen in this country versus just white, wealthy males. And so I'm happy to see that. That's why it's some positive news. And if you want to get all mad, I don't love DeSantis, and you're listening to the wrong fucking podcast. Jesus Christ. It's kind of like the Ultra MAGA shirt that I saw at the show on Friday. I was like, are you lost, sir? And I was like, I leave him alone. Fine, do you? But I looked and I was like, really? Do you know where you are? Because it's not really the scene for that, but do you? All right, let's move along into some parenting. My kid has apparently turned into quite the music fan / hipster lately. So we have some vinyl in the house. I don't have a ton. I have friends that probably thousands of records. We have a small shelf of records, and I don't buy a ton. I have some Unwritten Law records. I've got a couple of Interrupters records, and I have every Barstool Preachers record. And then, I like to pick up some of the old ones. And I don't know if I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but I have on vinyl, I have the soundtrack from Song of the South, which is something very difficult to find. I don't even listen to it. It's just in my collection. It's something I picked up at Goodwill for like $1 years ago. So we tend to get some of those, and then we have a lot of classic albums. But Luckily, we also have some kids' albums from the 80s when my wife was younger. And so my kid has gotten really into putting records on the turntable and putting the needle on and then turning on. We have it hooked up to a sound bar, so turning on the sound bar and playing records. And that's been her thing lately. And she's also putting on other records. Like, she'll see the Interrupters records. Like, let's listen to this. And she's really into Interrupters, has been for a long time. So it's interesting seeing that full circle effect. Records were not something I used a lot as a kid. I was, records were around. We had them. My mother still has some records. So we had them and occasionally listened to them. But, I grew up in the 80s and 90s. So it was tapes, a lot of cassette tapes, and then eventually CDs. When I was driving, it was all about CDs. Cars didn't necessarily have CD players, but that's when you saved up a little bit of money and went into Circuit City, kids. This was a electronics place, has long since closed. You go into Circuit City, you pick out a CD player stereo for your car and have them install it, and boom, you can listen to CDs. Or, for God's sake, those tape deck things that you put in there. I also had one of those because I had a Discman when I first started driving. So it's interesting to see kind of that come full circle. And there is such a demand for records because they are something that holds up. I still don't understand the cassette thing because cassettes aren't durable. Vinyl is durable. CDs are not durable. Cassettes are not durable. Having digital music, it's not going to break down or anything. But the kids, even at 6, the kids are apparently into records these days. I'm curious. Other parents out there, if you've got young kids, let me know because I'm curious if that's just, my kid sees the turntable or, and we occasionally play it. I'm just too lazy to play records, got to be honest. I'll put a record on, listen to half of the album, and then I'm like, shoot, I got to get up off this couch and change this record as opposed to, I'm on my phone and I'm just sending it to either the speakers or I got headphones in. It's so much easier to do than a turntable. I get it. It does sound better. I have so many audiophile friends that I understand there's no reason to argue about which is better. Vinyl is king when it comes to sound. It's just there's also convenience. So it's going to be interesting to see if now I have to buy more records because my kid is, or if it's just a phase. We'll see. All right, there's a Disney memorabilia show. I would say if you're in the Burbank area, go check it out. Today's actually the last day. But yesterday, my wife, we were at a birthday party. So my kids sufficiently hopped up on candy and cake. It's just, you can't go to a birthday party in Southern California, or a kid's birthday party, and not see a piñata. So it's always cake and then a bag of candy, and she's sufficiently hopped up on candy. And my wife says, there's only 2 more days left of this Disney memorabilia thing. So we drive out to Burbank, not a far drive from where we live, and go walking through. And they had it set up kind of like a museum, but it's actually an auction, and you could bid on things. I wasn't about to bid on anything. I mean, there was a really cool Figment statue from the original Journey into Imagination ride, but the thing was like they have about what it'll go for. It was like $3,000 to $4,000. I said, that's not something I need to shell money out for. But it was really cool to see a lot of the stuff. Old stuff, like original Disneyland stuff from the 50s and 60s. They had some of the original maps on display. They had a lot of the posters from around the park, a lot of Haunted Mansion stuff, stuff from rides that don't exist anymore. It was very cool. The one thing I will say is my daughter has a fear, and I think this is a reminder, just a heads up, if you go to Disneyland, the Snow White ride, the evil witch, as like the evil queen or whatever it is from Snow White when she's like transformed into the witch to give the apple. There is and this isn't a spoiling the ride. Just be aware, might freak your kid out. Freaked the hell out of my kid last time or the time before we were at Disneyland, and they just remodeled it, so I didn't know what to expect, and boom, freaked her out. They had one of those at this Disney memorabilia thing, and she would not even walk by it. So be aware of that if you go to Disneyland and you got a young kid. They might get scared by the queen from Snow White as she's in like the witch get up where she gives the apple and stuff. So be aware of that one. But it was a lot of fun. It was cool to see all this stuff. Of course, my daughter is at that age where she goes, "Is there a gift shop?" I said, "Well, this whole thing is actually, you can buy most of the things here, but we're not spending thousands of dollars on a piece of Disney memorabilia. It's cool stuff, but like, where the hell am I going to put this people mover? Put it in the backyard? I don't know. Turn it into a grill or something? I don't know. It's just, that's for people with like, fuck you money and, and too much space and just need to fill that space, I guess. Like I said, I told you I was going to repeat it. I did not tell my kid it was National Ice Cream Day, mainly because of yesterday and the birthday party. But somehow she got her hands on some popsicles today and started running around the house like an absolute maniac. I don't even know. Kids and sugar, good Lord. Luckily, I had some friends come over, and one of her friends came over, and they are in the pool. And so far, so good. I'm not hearing any screaming down there. They're not in there by themselves. There are adults down there as well. But I'm hoping that she's working off some of that sugar. And a definite warning. I think I've talked about this before, but it came up recently. I was at a show yesterday and had met someone who's in a band but is also a tutor for kids. And somehow YouTube came up. And so we started talking about something. And this is I've talked about this on the Something's Not Right Studios podcast. We've broached it on there before. But I want to bring it up again and just caution you, because there is like a kids YouTube. But I got reminded of it in further proof yesterday from this tutor who said, sometimes kids, they'll take a break or they have time before the tutoring starts or after it's done, and most of the kids love to watch YouTube. And they're pulling up harmless videos. But a lot of times, even when you're on the kids version, it can take you down a rabbit hole, and suddenly kids are watching something they should not be watching on YouTube. I've said it in the past, YouTube is not for kids. Even though it has a kids version, it's not for kids unless you're literally pulling up a video on the TV and you're watching it with them. We do that at Kate. My kid loves to watch parades, like Disney parades and parades from theme parks around the world and like SeaWorld shows, and a lot of that's on YouTube. But I will sit there and watch it with her. I'm not just letting her go free on with a tablet or anything. So parents, please be cautious of those things. Because suddenly, and it could even be harmless stuff. Like that's actually one she brought up specifically. Apparently, it popped up birds aren't real video. And this kid was young enough to be like, oh my God, birds aren't real. She had to be like, no. It's a big joke. For those of you not familiar with the birds aren't real thing, check it out. It's quite hilarious. It really is. But kids aren't going to understand that it's a joke. And that is on the harmless end of the spectrum, really, because you just have to be like, no, son. Birds are real. It's a joke, versus going down a rabbit hole and putting them. Like I've seen examples of kids watching kid stuff, and then suddenly they get it to a QAnon conspiracy video. It's like, how'd we go from here to here? But it happens. So just be aware of that if you're a parent, or even if you have kids anywhere near you. Don't just set them free on YouTube. Even if it's the kids' YouTube, don't do it. It's not smart. And I'm going to take a moment in parenting here to say a very, very happy. How to do the math there real quick. A happy 8th anniversary to my beautiful, loving, and supportive wife. Our anniversary is in 2 days. 2 days from now, back in 2015, my wife and I got married, and it's been 8 years of truly wedded bliss. I don't know how she puts up with my bullshit all the time, but somehow she does, and I'm grateful for that every day. So happy anniversary, and I will be most likely cooking a nice dinner, because it's a Tuesday, and we have a 6-year-old, and then maybe some more celebrating like next weekend. We'll see how that shakes out, I guess. All right, let's get into some common sense. The tent pole of Go Tell Us the Wall and Common Sense Sundays. It's right there in the name, and that would be our Common Sense segment. So Britney Spears was in the news recently. And I guess she's got a residency going on in Vegas right now. But just a quick snapshot for those of you that don't follow any kind of sports. The NBA draft was held recently, and I believe it was held in Vegas. And there's a highly touted 19-year-old. Kid is like 7'5", and he's, they're saying he's one of the best prospects ever to be drafted into the NBA. And for those of you, even if you don't follow sports, you probably know who LeBron James is. They are very much comparing his possible impact to the impact that LeBron James had on the NBA. Well, apparently, and his name is, they call him Wemby. I'm going to try it once. I'll probably never try to pronounce it again, but his name is Victor Wembanyama. I think I got it. Wembanyama, but they call him Wemby. He was heading to a restaurant in Vegas, and apparently Britney Spears was there, too. And she ran up behind him, tried to tap him on the shoulder. Well, he has a security detail with him because he's running around Vegas. He's very well known. He's 7'5". Actually, I don't know if is Britney even tall enough to tap him on the shoulder. I don't know. Either way, she tries to tap him on the shoulder to take a picture, and was pushed away. And she claimed later that day that security had slapped her or punched her, whatever it was. Well, sure enough, video comes out, and you can see that security did in fact push her away. And what happened when she went to reach her hand, security pushed her hand away, which is pretty standard practice for a security guard. I've never worked security, but I've known a lot of security guards, especially security guards for people of note. And simply pushing her hand away. And so she essentially slapped herself in the face because her hand got pushed away, tried to make this whole big deal about it and wanted an apology. She did get an apology, apparently. And it's like, sorry, you. Here's the thing. And I don't need the Britney people coming after me, okay? I understand she's got a big fan base. But here's the thing. You cannot just run up to somebody, regardless of who you are, especially when they're being surrounded by a security team. And the other thing is, that's not how you do it. If you're a person of note and you want to meet another person of note, another famous person, have your security detail talk to their security detail real quick. And on top of that, Wemby was told to not stop because you can end up causing a stir. And trust me, I've been around there for that. I had to get the Jonas Brothers from one end of Magic Mountain out the exit with hundreds of screaming teenage girls running beside us. It's a very difficult thing. You don't want to cause a scene like that and have crowds gather and everything else. They did everything right. So for Britney to freak out about this, it's like, okay, just because you're famous doesn't mean you can just walk up to whoever you want. Clearly, he's going somewhere. Let's just leave people alone. Now, if there's an opportunity to say hi or whatever, yes, that happens. But relax on just grabbing people and wanting to get a photo op. You know, that's enough of that. And you can't just touch people. Stop touching people. Now, I'm a hugger. Don't get me wrong. I hug my friends. I hug my family. But I don't just go up touching random people. Some people don't like to be touched at all. So calm the hell down. All right. Well, we're going to talk about a Fox. I don't even know who it was. A Fox News host. Recently came out and was railing against the whole woke culture and, radical left and all this stuff that usually comes out of Fox News. But one thing in particular stuck out, and of course people called him out on this. He claimed that the left wants to make plant-based beer, wants to make all beer plant-based beer, and said, I won't have plant-based beer. Well, sir, I don't know if you're aware of this. All beer is plant-based. Wine, plant-based. Whiskey, vodka, plant-based. That's all comes from fucking plants, sir. So it's wild because there's a bunch of Fox News listeners going, yeah, we don't want plant-based beer. Well, guys, no more beer for you because it's all fucking plant-based. Common sense. I still can't believe anybody watches Fox News. That's the kind of high-quality reporting you get out of Fox News. Nothing about that is true. Nobody on the left is pushing an agenda that already exists. I can tell you that. It's not something that has to be done. It already exists. We don't have to push for it. Even if people wanted plant-based beer, it's already there. That's all beer. It just cracks me up. It's so ridiculous it's funny. Like, it really is. We've just hit a point where it's not even, you can't take any of it remotely seriously anymore. You just can't. And speaking of not taking things remotely serious, that RFK Jr. once again in the news. I guess he's still trying to run for the Democratic nomination against Joe Biden. Good luck with that. There was a COVID. He was talking about the COVID vaccine. Was actually caught on video, and claimed that the vaccine is ethnically targeted. For those of you that haven't seen this, let me explain it a little bit. He said he claims that the vaccine is bad for Caucasians and African Americans, and it is actually not bad for Jews and Chinese people, Jewish people and Chinese people. And obviously, this was construed correctly as anti-Semitic, and multiple Jewish groups have come out and are speaking out about it. The guy is completely unhinged. It's really amazing. And then he tried to deny it, which was funny because everyone's like, "Well, there's a video, dude. It's right there. Nobody's twisting your words. You said it. It's on video." Then he claimed, "Well, I wasn't supposed. No video is supposed to be taken." And it was like apparently a public event where video was allowed to be taken. And then he tried to dance around it and basically just said the same thing in a different way. So please, for the love of God, stop giving RFK Jr. airtime. It's enough. It really is. We got to stop this. The guy's completely unhinged. He's obviously anti-Semitic. He thinks vaccines cause all kinds of problems, despite the good that is shown from vaccines. And we got to just... this is another example of maybe if we ignore him, he will go away. So can we all please collectively get together and ignore that son of a bitch, because it's getting really frustrating. Unhinged. The guy's unfucking hinged. And that's what's hilarious. Remember the whole debate thing? Like Joe Rogan wanted that doctor to go on and debate RFK Jr. It's like, that's what you're fucking debating. That's why he's not going to come on your show and debate. It's utterly ridiculous. All right, let's move along here. In-N-Out. God, I love me some In-N-Out. Give me a 3x3 and french fries all day. I love it. It's tough. And, I don't eat at Chick-fil-A. We've come to find out In-N-Out, yes, they are very conservative, but they do also donate to other causes. They're not as anti-LGBTQ as Chick-fil-A. But God damn, they just do dumb things sometimes. And we found out recently that In-N-Out is forbidding all of their employees from wearing a mask. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand. I've hit a point where if you don't want to require masks, that's fine. Okay? I'm not masked up all the time like I used to be when I was going indoors and stuff. I get it. But to deny people the ability to wear a mask is where I get frustrated. Because here's the thing. Let's say someone's got a slight cold and they've got to go into work. And a lot of people do this all the time. They go to school, they go to work. Wouldn't you rather have them in a mask preparing your food than no mask? You shouldn't take away the ability for somebody to wear a mask, especially in a food preparation situation. I talked about this before. Even with how much safer it is now, I wear masks on planes. I do it. No reason not to. There's an entire industry built around getting sick on planes. They literally call one of them airborne. Let's knock it off. Look at what they do in China. For years, long before COVID, you'd see people walking around China wearing masks, and it's a sign of respect. If they feel like they're possibly getting sick, they don't want to get other people sick. Or maybe they don't want to bring home a sickness to somebody in their house that will be extremely susceptible to it. Let's do better than that. All right, before we get into entertainment news, we're going to kind of bridge there because we're talking entertainment kind of here, and it's the SAG strike. So Screen Actors Guild, for those of you not aware of the terms there, they officially went on strike a few days ago. They have joined the Writers Guild of America. The Screen Actors Guild and Writers Guild of America are now both on strike for the first time since like 1960. We've had strikes. I've been alive for quite a few strikes in the film and TV industry, but obviously, since it's been since the 60s, I haven't been alive for both of these oh my gosh. I'm just having a brain fart right now. But both of these guilds, they're guilds. These unions, oh my God. Sometimes words are just gone. But it's the first time since like the 60s that both these unions are on strike at the same time. And it's getting more and more nasty. In fact, we've come to find out there's rumors, and most likely true, this is coming from sources, that studio execs are basically just going to sit on it and wait out writers and actors until people start losing their homes. This is a quote that came out. It's not attached to anyone specific, but we kind of know which executive said it most likely. And Iger has also said that the demands of both unions are unrealistic. For those of you not aware, Bob Iger made something like $30-some million in pay last year. $30-some million. And it's unrealistic to pay a fair wage to people that keep your industry running. They're the ones that make it so you can get paid $30-some million. The other scary thing when it comes to this, and this is a good chunk of the reason why the actors have also joined the strike, is studios had put forth a proposal. Because for those of you not familiar, you have actors on set. You have main actors, you have guest stars, and all this other kind of stuff. Well, when you watch a television show or a movie, and you see people in the background, those are background actors. I actually know quite a few background actors that's what they do is they are in the background acting. And what studios wanted to do was basically scan those background actors pay them for 1 day of work, and then use their likeness in perpetuity. Can you believe that? You're going to use someone's likeness in perpetuity and not pay them for it. This is utterly ridiculous when studio execs make millions and millions and millions of dollars off the backs of people that are in these unions. It's an utter disgrace. And as you know, we here at Go Tell It to the Wall are incredibly pro-union. We're going to stand. We've been standing with the Writers Guild, and we're going to stand with the Screen Actors Guild and support as much as possible. And to be clear, they have not called for boycotts of anything. You can still go see the stupid Barbie movie next weekend. You can still go see Oppenheimer. But if it does come to that and the unions do ask for a boycott, we will be participating in that boycott. And we'll be following this closely because it's utterly disgusting what executives are doing right now with the unions. And don't tell me things like unrealistic, Bob. As you sit in your mansion and just collect a paycheck. And you know he's not doing any hard work. He's got to answer to shareholders. That's about it. They're the fat cats sitting in their offices while everyone else is sweating and breaking their backs and putting out product, whatever it might be in this case, television shows and movies. And I do feel I have a lot of friends that are affected by this. I have a lot of friends that aren't making money right now. They cannot work. There is no work because of these strikes. But this is the only way that change can be enacted. And we're seeing just how hardball the executives are playing here. Just how much hardball the executives are playing here. All right, let's move on to some entertainment news. We do have some bad news, but I think it's going to end up okay. We are heavily, at Go Tell It to the Wall, heavily involved with Punk Rock Saves Lives. Personally, I volunteer with them quite a bit. They're also very good friends, and we also like to promote things that they are doing. And this one happens to be important. As you may or may not know, they have an RV that is used to travel the country, follow tours, go to all these events, get people swabbed, bring harm reduction stuff too. So it's very important that they have this. Well, the engine completely blew up on the Punk Rock Saves Lives RV. So they are currently running a GoFundMe to help pay for the new engine, which, I'm not a car guy, but I know new engines are pretty expensive, and I think they have a goal set of $15,000, which will cover the engine and labor to get it all put in and everything. So they have a GoFundMe going right now. We'll probably share it on the Go Tell It to the Wall page, but if you go to Punk Rock Saves Lives, any of their social platforms, you're going to see it. So please, if you have the ability to do so, please help them out. Every dollar counts. I know they've made quite a bit of headway as far as what they've raised so far, but they are not quite there. And keep in mind that those donations are tax deductible. I wasn't sure with GoFundMe, and I've been told not all GoFundMe donations are tax deductible, but I do know for a fact that the GoFundMe for the Punk Rock Saves Lives RV is tax deductible. I'm sure it has to do with them being a 501(c)(3). So anytime you donate to them, it is a tax deduction. So please help them out if you have the means to do so, and it will be greatly appreciated, not only by them, but all the people that work with Punk Rock Saves Lives, that support Punk Rock Saves Lives, and spread the greatness that is Punk Rock Saves Lives. All right, Deadpool 3. They actually stopped They were shooting, which I don't understand how that was happening, because the Writers Guild was on, but maybe the script was done. I'm not sure. Either way, they had started shooting Deadpool 3. They have since stopped because the SAG is now on strike, so you can't have any actors on there. They're on strike. But we were getting news recently, and I keep seeing stuff pop up, and I think I've mentioned this before. I cannot keep up with the Star Wars stuff. I cannot keep up with the Marvel stuff. I don't know what the hell's going on. It's Doctor Strange and all this other stuff, and multiverse. I cringe at the word multiverse now, because it is too fucking much to keep track of. Now, I've loved Deadpool. I love Deadpool 1. I love Deadpool 2. Ryan Reynolds is my absolute man crush. I think they are fantastic films. But now we're getting word that we're getting some multiverse junk in the new Deadpool movie. Now, don't get me wrong. Yes, throw in some yes, Wolverine. That's fine. Throw in some characters. But to try and insert Deadpool into the whole multiverse thing, and I'm sure there's people out there that are so excited about this. Me, personally, I am not. I cannot keep track of it. And if I have to watch 15 other movies to watch Deadpool 3, then I'm just going to be out of it. I'll just rewatch Deadpool 1 and 2. So please, if it is going to happen, let it be minimal. Because I cannot handle the multiverse stuff. And I know people like it. I do not. It's too much. Just give me a damn movie. I want to laugh. All that other stuff, and we're good. All right, Gutterfest. I mentioned on the 4th of July episode that we're going to be going to Gutterfest. I was at Gutterfest last Saturday. Fantastic show. Still not a huge Guttermouth fan. I leave during Guttermouth when they play because they always have a lot of great bands opening for them, but they have such a huge fan base. Oh my gosh. They're just about sold out of merch, and they still had another show like the next day. So, I mean, good for them. But I was mainly there for Bucko 9, Chaser, and Jughead's Revenge, especially Bucko 9. You don't catch them as much. I'm spoiled. I get to catch Chaser and Jughead's Revenge quite a bit. And so many friends were there. This was just great. And this is what else helped pull me out of my depressive state is seeing everybody and getting hugs and having good conversation and enjoying a beer and hanging out with people in those bands that I just mentioned. I actually ended up working the Chaser merch booth for a while. I am wearing my newest Chaser shirt that I picked up at the show. This is actually their absolute newest design. For those of you that are watching the video feed, you can pick them up on the website or at one of their shows. I know they still had a bunch in their personal stock, but they should also be on the website. And I will say, I had a blast. I was on the rail for Bucko 9, going nuts, and I talked to a couple of the guys in Bucko 9 afterward, and they were like, "Oh my God, you were awesome! Thanks for because cheering and hyping up." And when it's a band I really love, and especially a band that I followed for 30 years, I'm having fun and I'm yelling, "Let's get Irish!" and we got Irish drinking song and all this other stuff. And so I had multiple guys in the band were like, "Oh, thank you, that was awesome! Thanks for keeping the energy up and giving us a little energy and stuff like that." But the sad thing is, Tony, the trumpet player, it was his second to last show. I don't know if they've had their last show. It wasn't an LA show, but it was his second to last show with the band. I did talk to him for a little while afterward, and he's not going to be gone. He just has other business commitments. I guess he owns some dojos in San Diego that he has to maintain. So he's stepping back from the band. But it was really awesome because he said to me, he's like, I just won't be up on the stage anymore. I'll be in the pit with you. And I said, hell yeah, Tony. So I'm sure we're still going to see him around, but unfortunately, we won't have his energy up on stage. So hopefully, like I said, we'll still see him around, but it is sad to know that he's not going to be up there playing trumpet anymore. All right, and then on Friday, I ended up at Murphy's Lawn Adolescence show. Good Lord, the juxtaposition between this past Friday and Saturday. There were about 2 people there I knew. I told you there was an Ultra MAGA guy with an Ultra MAGA shirt running around. I was like, what is happening here? But I really wanted to see Murphy's Law. I've been a fan of them for a long time and hadn't seen them in the longest time. So I drove my ass down to Garden Grove on a Friday. For those of you that live in L.A., you know what a pain in the ass that is. So went down there and luckily made it in time to catch all of the bands. Had some fun, but it was one of those more relaxing times because I didn't know a lot of people. Like I said, I knew like 2 people. So I just kind of sat with my beer in one of the seats at the amphitheater and enjoyed Murphy's Law and watched everyone go. That's the other thing too. To be in the pit at the rail for Bucko 9 versus a hardcore show. It's a stark difference. And there was still some good. There was pit etiquette going on, but not quite as much as. For example, there were some kids going through the pit, and people were like watching the kids as they're going through the pit for Bucko 9. A couple people hit the ground. They were on the ground for like a second. Hardcore show, no kids going in that pit, and people were still getting picked up, but they're on the ground for 5 seconds. Little takes a little longer. Different vibe. And apparently it was just hardcore show weekend for me because I ended up doing the same thing last night or yesterday, close by to the house, and Cali Vibes was putting on a hardcore metal show there and had fun, but man, it's just. I'm walking around, and the people there that knew me are like, oh yeah, no, you're more into like the ska and the punk as opposed to the hardcore. And I do enjoy. I mean, Ignite is one of my absolute favorite bands, but there's like the Ignite hardcore, and then there's like the hardcore, and respect to it too. It's just you don't catch me listening to as much of that. All right, and speaking of music, this is a completely left turn on music, but Mike Skinner, The Streets, just today released a new single called Troubled Waters. It's a banger. I got to say it's a banger. If you're into like that electronic dubstep, which I'm not super into, but I've been a Streets fan for, 20 years. So I always own every album, and I will be doing the same. And check out that single if you're into them. And a new album is dropping soon. The album is called The Darker the Shadows, The Brighter the Light. So really looking forward to that one, and we'll probably do an album review when that does come out. And one more thing before we wrap up episode 110. New Basis Against Racist design dropped for July. This one's a big one, much like the cone from Sum 41. And July's design features Todd Morse of Offspring. Offspring. Pretty big band, I would say. And of course, as always, you're going to pre-order that as long as you get it before the end of July. Those will usually ship out the following month. And if this is, of course, designed by the uber-talented Paul Smith of Zombie Teeth Clothing and printed by the awesomely talented Gabby Chaos of Chaos Merch. And that is if you're ordering in North America. If you're ordering in Europe, you're going to order through a different thing, and that would be through T-Mom Merch. And make sure you get those pre-orders in before the end of July. And as always, shout out to Lynn of Bad Cop, who came up with this idea, and what, 2.5 years later, there's still more artists getting and having awesome designs, and I own like 8 of them. I don't own all of them. I have friends that own all of them. Shout out to Adam that owns freaking all of them, but I have like 8 of them, and I might pick up this one. We'll see. I haven't gotten one in a couple months. Well, I did get the one that I wore a couple weeks ago, but that was an old one. It was the second design ever, and thank God Gabby hooked it up on that one because they're all gone now. But make sure you get that order in before the end of July. All right, on that note, we're going to wrap up episode 110. Before we go, don't forget to follow us on the socials. Facebook.com/GoTellItToTheWall. Also, YouTube.com/GoTellItToTheWall. Of course, my own personal Instagram account, which is @SoCalSean, SoCalSean. And if you're jumping on the threads, you can find me on the threads under that same username as well. And make sure you bookmark SeanO'RourkeLive.com. And if you have some extra funds laying around, maybe consider becoming a patron through our Patreon campaign or picking up some merch through our merch website, both of which link directly from SeanO'RourkeLive.com. All right. We got a big thing going on next weekend. I don't want to spoil any of it, but we'll probably talk about it next episode because the thing's happening on Saturday involving another very popular podcast, and it's not necessarily involving Go Tells the Wall, but it will be involving me as I head out there to check that out, but we'll talk about that next weekend. We should be back next weekend. Same wall place, same wall time. This has been episode 110 of Common Sense Sundays with Go Tell It to the Wall, hosted by me, your absolute favorite podcast host, the one and only Sean O'Rourke. And remember, Wall fans, Common Sensors, podcast consumers, no matter what you do, no matter who you're with, no matter where you're going, especially no matter why you are doing it, always use common sense.